Hey everybody, thanks so much for checking out Better Student Ministry. My name's Mark Freeman and this is Jared Barry, and together we have over 30 years of youth ministry experience.
We hope this resource was a blessing to you and your team. Along with every training video, we've included a downloadable PDF filled with discussion questions for you to wrestle through and contextualize the topic we've discussed. And if you guys are interested in doing a deeper dive, we also have a podcast that's available where Mark and I talk a lot more about the topics we've talked about today. You can find us on SoundCloud, iTunes, YouTube, and Facebook by simply searching Better Student Ministry. Hey everybody, welcome to Better Student Ministry. So glad you guys are with us. Really excited to dive into our topic today. We want to talk about creating a culture of collaboration. Mark, I know you and I in our years of youth ministry experience have really adopted this as one of the core things that we felt passionate about.
Yeah.
And today we want to kind of share with you guys what are some things that can help create a culture of collaboration, but also what are some things that can hinder a culture of collaboration. As you're watching this with your team, these are some important things to think about as we're wrestling through building that culture.
Now, to some degree, we are making kind of the generalization at this point that there is a desire for collaboration on the team. My guess is if your point leader is showing you this video, then it's because there is a desire for collaboration. Now, some leaders naturally collaborate better than others, but those who have a desire to, whether it's their natural language or not, their desire is to, hey, we are a team here. Let's do this as a team. We serve together as a team. And so to some degree here, there's going to be the assumption that there is a desire for collaboration. So as we focus in on some of our things that are helpful and some things that are not, it will kind of fall under the umbrella that there is a desire for it. You might not have it yet, but these things will either help you to have a better culture of collaboration or to make you aware of, avoid these things, either that you're doing currently or that can ruin the opportunity for a collaborative team effort.
Yeah. So one of the things I think about when I think about the concept of what helps create a collaborative environment is creating a culture on your team where everybody recognizes we're all different in personality, different in strengths, different in passions, but we all have something valuable to offer.
Yeah.
And that's really what collaboration is about, right? Like we each have something that we can give and participate and add to the conversation.
Sure.
But the only way that happens is if the culture that exists on the team is a culture which values everybody and recognizes that, even though we're different. And sometimes that's hard, right?
Yeah.
Different personalities.
I would even say, too, it's like if you look back at your years of youth ministry or other youth leaders that you know, a lot of times you can see how collaborative or flexible the leader is based on the personalities around the table that are part of their team. Chances are if everybody on their team kind of looks and sounds like the point leader, then that means you've probably lost some voices from people that didn't think they fit in or didn't think they had a seat at the table. So one of the priorities that we had in our youth ministry is, man, I got to find people who aren't me. My voice is going to be heard. Not that you can't have other people like you around you because it's fun to do ministry with similar personalities, but if you don't have people around the table that aren't like you, you need to find those voices because they're going to be so valuable.
Yeah.
The good news for me is my wife is so different in personality than me. I kind of had a already built-in sounding board that had a different perspective, a different voice. And so I was thankful that's not always the case, though I think in a lot of cases for youth leaders, when I look at their spouses, a lot of times, interestingly, there are some differences. So all I have to say is listen to your spouse's perspective. That's a great place to start in having a collaborative ministry. And then just be willing to hear different voices. It's something we need to hear. Can you think of some experiences in your youth ministry where like, I needed to hear that voice at that time to help us be as healthy as possible?
Yeah, absolutely. And there's a lot of those moments over the years where oftentimes unexpectedly, right, where someone would say something that was totally different than what you're thinking. And you're like, wow, that was so profound. Like, thank you for bringing that. So it may be a parent perspective.
Yeah.
It may be a student perspective. It may be just a different personality perspective. And that'd be one of the other things that I would say we need to try to do, which helps create a culture of collaboration is you as the leadership team needs to work at helping voices have the opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
And so I know we've talked about this before. Not everybody's an extrovert.
Yeah.
Right? And so what are some ways, Mark, that you created that culture in your group where you allowed everybody and encouraged everybody to have an opportunity to speak, have an opportunity to contribute?
I think one thing that could be really helpful, especially as you just identified, maybe speaking up in the room and sharing your thoughts may not always be the right venue for every voice, but their opinion being important is now you can collect a lot of information ahead of time digitally. So like send out a reflection form to your staff based on an event that you had, or even regular like large group gathering information, and give them an opportunity to respond to some things. I think with some really key questions, you can get some good feedback, and then you can digest that information internally and process it, and then if you want to bring it to the team and talk it out, you can either share that information anonymously or just say, hey, we've been thinking through this, thanks so much for your feedback, and then decide what adjustments need to be made. But giving them a place to have a voice where they don't actually have to speak out loud can be a benefit. And sometimes too, those type of processors want to take some time to think about what they're saying and how they're going to say it, because some people just aren't good at on the spot, like, hey guys, what do you think? I need ideas right now, kind of a thing. But if you provide an opportunity for time of thought, I think you could get some really good feedback.
Yeah, I love that. In fact, one of the other things that we would do is to try to create different spaces. So you do have the large group, right, where it's our whole staff, and maybe we're all in my house in my living room, and we're going, what do you guys think about this? And that's great, that's good. But then we also maybe do some small groups where maybe I invite 2 or 3 of the leaders out who I know would never share in that environment, and we go to coffee and I'm like, guys, what do you think? And in that environment, they'll definitely share. Or then we'd also do like one-on-ones where I would just have one-on-one and say, there's something about getting a leader in that environment where maybe they feel safer, maybe they feel like I could share something that I wouldn't risk it in front of the whole group, but I will share it with you. And so what I would say is, if you're on the leadership team and you want to create a collaborative environment, you want to get people involved, look to do it in a variety of ways. Create those different settings, whether it's with students or with leaders, where you can get as many voices to speak as possible.
Another thing to think about that I think is a help when it comes to collaboration, as the volunteer leader or anyone that doesn't see it as the main key point person for the youth ministry, is to realize not every idea is able to be executed, but that doesn't mean that your idea is not good, and it doesn't mean that your idea is not welcome. So just keep in mind that when the leader is asking for your input, if you think to yourself, they never do what I say anyways, now that could be a leader issue. And sometimes, leaders will, point leaders may placate their team and be like, yeah, give me your feedback, but I already know what I want and I'm going to do that anyhow. But know that, for me, there were lots of times where my team may have a particular opinion on something, but I didn't go in that direction. Maybe it's because I had other information that they didn't have, or maybe I just knew, given the timing, or there could be any number of reasons why I may not have decided to go in that direction. But that doesn't mean that their thoughts didn't help shape what we ultimately did decide to do. So don't think if they're not doing all the stuff that you're suggesting we do, that your information isn't helpful. I think you can begin to shut down, and that's probably on the not helpful side of things, to take it personally, or to think, they don't care what I have to say anyhow.
So that's a perfect transition into some of the things that hinder a collaborative environment. And one of my thoughts was exactly what you were starting to touch on, is I think the number one thing that will hinder a collaborative environment in your youth ministry is insecurity amongst the team. And that's not just the point leader, although they share the big responsibility of being the example, but that's among all the leaders. If we're sitting in a team meeting and there's a person on the team who, if they share an idea and someone critiques that idea, they become incredibly insecure and frustrated and angry. The culture around goes, oh, we can't be honest here. And so even if that idea may be a bad idea, or maybe there's some things about that idea that you haven't thought of, I can't give my honest opinion because they'll blow up or they'll explode. And so all of us on the team have to self-evaluate and have to go, I need to not approach this with insecurity and understand my identity is not based on whether people believe in my ideas. This is an opportunity for us to serve and to grow and to offer our perspectives together.
I think one way to help that or avoid this hindrance is let your criticism be constructive, right? It's okay to identify things that are problems and that are issues. if you think that way, and you're super valuable in the team if you do think that way, but take it one step further and also be ready to maybe offer a suggestion or help identify what you think the problem is. What is maybe the underlying issue,
right.
Versus just like, we all know that was terrible last week. We're trying to figure out why it was terrible, And so, being able to be constructive with your criticism will make everyone feel more comfortable. It probably allows your concerns to be heard a little bit better as well. And so, be willing to think through it. Like if you're willing to share whatever you think the issue is or something that needs to be changed, be also willing to come up with some suggestions and some ideas for how you could solve the problem.
I love that. The one of the big hindrances that you just said is those who want to simply critique without wanting to be a part of the solution.
Yeah.
That's a huge hindrance. Hey, one other hindrance that I was thinking of is negativity in our attitude or perspective towards our role in the church overall and towards leadership. I think that's one of the biggest hindrances against collaboration is when we're not cognitive of how we are talking and responding about the church, about leadership. When we have a negative perspective, a negative attitude, and are sowing that in, it's a major hindrance to people feeling like we're a part of something here.
Yeah.
Like, and collaboration is not just collaboration in your youth ministry, but collaboration in your church.
Yeah.
So if you're a leader in your youth ministry, what sort of perspective and attitude are you putting forth about the youth ministry to students, to other leaders? Are you excited about what God's doing? Are you excited about the potential? Or are you walking around negative and constantly like, I could do better, this is terrible, or whatever? And what attitude are you putting forth about the whole church, and the leadership of the whole church? I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, and kind of concluding this idea too, I think one of the ideas that, again, every hindrance can be a help if it's filtered through the right thing.
Yeah.
So your attitude then ultimately as the volunteer leader or wherever you fit on the team, how you then move forward once a decision has been made will either be the greatest help to your ministry collaboratively, or it could be one of the biggest hindrances. So at the end of the day, you've got to remember, okay, if I'm not the key point leader, do I trust the person who is? I've given all the information that I can to make them make as healthy a decision as possible. And then at the end of the day, what they decide, I'm going to rally around it and I'm going to be for it and I'm going to lift it up and then I'm going to help them if it falls. I'm not going to root for it to fail, but if it does, then I'm going to help them pick up the pieces and say, hey, let's keep thinking through this process. Yeah. But you've got to be a collaborative environment. Also has to be a unified when you walk away from that discussion. And I've seen that with church boards at large, and I've seen that within youth groups. And it doesn't take much for the students to be like, ooh, so-and-so's not in on this, and start to question why.
Yeah, I love that. Hey, we're thankful for you guys checking out this video, and we're really excited to let you know that we do a deep dive podcast on this topic with Heath McCoy, who is the youth director for Southern New England District of the Assemblies of God. And we dive into a whole lot of other stuff that we didn't address here today. So I want to encourage you to check that out. We're thankful for you guys, and we'll catch you on the next episode of Better Student Ministries.
Thanks.
Question number 1, how can you create a better culture of collaboration where voices are heard and valued? Question number 2, how can you create more opportunities to share thoughts and ideas? Question number 3, what areas of your youth ministry do you think would benefit from more collaboration and input? Thanks for checking out Better Student Ministry. If you enjoyed this content, feel free to share it with a friend. You can always find our videos by searching Better Student Ministry on either Facebook or YouTube. And if you want to dive deeper into the content we discussed today, we've got a podcast available for you on both SoundCloud and iTunes or on our YouTube channel. Please like, subscribe, share it with people who are around you. We hope it's been a blessing to you. If you've got questions or content you'd love us to discuss, feel free to email us at betterstudentministry@gmail.com.